Hello, in this video we are going to animate our camera. So for this assignment, we eventually want this to have a renderable camera that's moving towards our scene a little bit to make it more dynamic. So we set it up before and we locked it. I'm going to unlock it right now. So go to your channel box, select it and right click and say unlock, and I'm gonna say this is the spot that I'm gonna get a little bit closer. So this is my end kind of frame, and I'm just gonna stay there for now. So down here is where the frames will be. To set a key or a placement of our camera, we first need to be selecting what we are going to be animating. So I can do that by hitting S while I'm selecting, and you'll see this little red line, and you'll notice that all these channels here are red. That means that it's keyed these. You can, so say I don't want to key all these, I can undo that by hitting Control Z. I can go over and right click and say key selected, and it'll only key the translate. So I can edit the rotation if I want. You can also, on the bottom here, right now this is only showing 24 frames, which if it's 24 frames per second, that means that 24 frames will appear for 1 second. That's the length of film and the frame rate for film. So I'm going to expand this out so I see my full range here, and I'm going to set this number down here to a bigger number. So I'll try, let's try 200. Alright, and I can expand this out like this. So that means if I go to my calculator and say 200 divided by 24 equals, that means it's about 8.3 seconds. So yeah, so that's how long this will be. Maybe I want to go 24 times 9, so I want 9 seconds. I can do 216. So let's do that instead. 216 makes an even 9 seconds. And if I move this, so this will limit my range. So if I was going to focus on a certain part, I can use this thing here. But I want to see the whole thing while I'm setting this up. And make sure this is at 24 frames per second. And yeah, the next setting that you should check before we start doing this is go over to here to the animation preferences. I need to click on that and go on your time slider. So we need to set our playback to 24 frames times 1. If this is at play every frame, your animation will seem really fast. So if it doesn't seem like it's acting the way it should, and you probably should always check this to make sure, just set this to 24 frames per second times 1 and then hit save. Alright, so I know that this is going to be my end frame, so I'm going to select this and hit S, and I have a key. So now I'm going to go to my first frame. I'm going to make a mistake and go, say I didn't know where I was, and I'm going to move this back, so something like this, and then I'm going to hit S, and I was like, oh man, I didn't realize that I didn't have my frame in the right place. You can hold down shift like this, shift and drag, and you can select a whole range that way. This used to be red, I believe, and then they just changed this. So if it comes out red on your version, it's the same thing. So you can grab a whole section, so you could do a bunch of different frames and then move them like this. You can also select it and say cut, and then go all the way to where you want that frame and say paste. So now I can hit play over here and see what my animation of my camera is. It's nice and steady, slow, and it goes in. And I think it might be a little too slow, so I'm going to go in a little bit closer. Something like that. And then pressing S to readjust those. So I can do that. There we go. And you might notice that it starts slower and then speeds up and then slows down at the end. If that's a problem, we can adjust that by going to Windows and going to the animation editor and go to the graph editor. So what this is doing is it's a graph of your animation. So I can select one of these. So that's the translate. This is the translate is the moving from one direction to the next. Rotation, you see it's flat because we don't have any kind of rotation happening. And scale, the same thing. So all our animation is happening here. And you'll notice when I go to this, I can select all and hit F if you're having a hard time seeing it. I can expand it up. You can, it's the same kind of movement in the viewport, so holding down Alt and middle mouse, Alt and right click. You can squeeze it, so this doesn't actually change any, like you can squeeze it by hitting Shift and Alt and right click and moving left and right. See how it squishes it? Sometimes it's easier to see subtle changes in the animation by squishing it. What this is doing is it's starting slow, speeding up, and slowing down before it hits it. I actually like that it's slowing down before it hits it, but I want it to be consistent as it starts. And you have different options up here. So you have clamped, tangents, flat tangents, all this is, and you can play around with these. To get it straight like this, I can click over here and set linear tangents. And now it's going straight. You can also play around with this and move it up and down like that if you want. But I don't think I need to do that. So now if I go and hit play, it's consistent in the beginning and it slowly goes in like this. And that's what I want. All right, I'll see you in the next video.